everybody. Welcome back to another episode on the Stodgify podcast. I think this is episode number 9. Okay, 9 episodes, almost at 10, Nick. Yes, almost at 10. Today we have the lovely Joanne Laoulach. Laoulach.
Yeah.
I've just pronounced it Laoulach. Laoulach. So today is the first time we met, just for the record. But I found you through Dina,
Yes.
who was on a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
Her episode's dropping tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, I'm excited about that one there.
Yeah.
And when I was doing my research with her, I found a podcast that you and her did.
Yes.
And you're talking about gene SNPs. You're a nutritionist as well.
I am. I did my bachelor's of science. Dina's
indoctrinated like me.
Yes, exactly. I like to say, and I've said it in my podcast, I was like, the degree I need for the system.
Okay.
But I've in the future, potentially, I'm not clinically practicing at the moment.
Okay.
But I do work in the space. I work for a company called Ultra Nature, and we provide alternative solutions to health.
Yes.
Different ailments, but we provide the more natural solution.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
lovely.
So that's what I'm currently doing.
Yes.
I also have my little own side hustle, which is my passion.
Which is?
So I've written a kid's book called Energetic Ebony and Lazy Luke.
Hey, you guys, it's legitimate, all right?
It's legit.
And what's it say on the back here? It says, Energetic Ebony eats healthy foods such as fruits and vegetables. She is active and has energy all day long to perform gymnastics and play with her friends. Lazy Luke eats unhealthy foods like donuts, milkshakes, slushies, cakes, hot dogs, candies, fries. Do we even call it candy?
Yeah,
cookies
candy.
and soft drinks. He's very Americanized. He sits down all day and plays video games. When Luke gets sick, Ebony is worried about him and brings him fruits and vegetables, the good food his body needs so he can recover quickly. With some fun science facts mixed in, this picture book for children tells the story of Energetic Ebony and Lazy Luke and how they discover the power of energy foods. It promotes the importance of eating healthily and demonstrates how good nutrition is vital to our well-being. Well, you know what? My podcast is now going to get cancelled because no one wants that, being honest. So basically, why did you write that and what's the story with that there?
Okay, so there's a little bit more of a story or a bit more evidence to support the reason why I wrote the book, right? Because there's so many kids books out there, right? Not necessarily nutrition, there are a few, but there's a lot of books out there. And all of them have like a little tale, a little lesson, a little something.
Yes.
Now, the child between 0 to 7 is in theta brain waves, like a theta state, which means at that point in their life, they are, absorbing a lot of the environments, looking at what's happening around them, listening to them, learning things. All of that sort of stuff is then building their subconscious beliefs, their core beliefs.
Okay.
They're there. 95% of what runs their life is being built in those times. 5%, which is the remaining, and I think the evidence has changed. I think it's 97 or 98% of your subconscious runs your life. So that leaves us with 3% is the conscious.
Okay.
And the conscious is basically the things that are happening in front of them day to day. As they grow, those things change. But every day that person gets out of bed, you and I get out of bed, our subconscious beliefs are running our life. They're the story that we're running.
I agree.
That's based on values. They're based on beliefs. They're based on experiences that you have happened to you from 0 to 7 as well. I have a good friend of mine, Chantel. She's actually an addiction specialist.
Yes, she is. I watched one of her videos you sent me.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And she basically says even the stories that happen to you from 0 to 7 are not necessarily always true. It's a meaning that you created to a situational event, right?
Of course.
And as children, we want to create meaning to something. We just do it, and it's always about us. It's like, so like, for example, it might just be, and she gave me that example in her recording, was that, her mum had her. She was the first child, but then her mum was trying to fall pregnant with her second child. And she, in that time, was really upset because she couldn't have the second child.
Yep.
So what that first child does is they create a meaning to the story about their mum being, say, for example, upset in the time or stages. That's just one example.
Yeah.
There's multiple scenarios, multiple situations. But basically what I'm trying to say here is that the beliefs, your values, your basically everything holding you up today, Dan, is your subconscious beliefs. The reason why I've written this book is because, okay, I'm not raising the child. I'm not part of that child's entire life, but I'm actually planting seeds into that child's mind, nutritious, healthy seeds in that time that they're building their subconscious beliefs. 5%. I'm doing 5% of the job. Now, what this is, and if you read it, inside is the mitochondria, Mr. Mitochondria. We've made him a character.
Mr. Mitochondria.
He's called Mr. Mitochondria.
I like that.
Yeah. And,
I like that.
And Mr. Mitochondria is the power plant of the cell.
Yes.
And it energizes your cell. So a lot of the studies that they're doing today, the mitochondria is being studied massively today, more than ever, because with nutrition and science, it keeps advancing. There's more and more evidence. You know, they look at things that have happened, then they, you know, look at new diseases. They try to figure out the whys, and there's new evidence showing up every single day.
So if we were to look, and I want to state, obviously I said this with Dina as well. So this is an educational podcast. So where I'm not a doctor, I'm an engineer. You've got a background in nutritional science. But obviously, if you want to make any changes, people, please go speak to your own healthcare providers and practitioners, 100%, or come and see the nutritionist here. But this is just educational. Okay, I just want to make that clear. So, would you find that some people, or is there some type of evidence to show that some people with some illnesses have are deficient in mitochondria, it's not operating at an optimum level and that type of stuff? Or
so I just be careful. It's not really a deficiency as such.
I'm just using that word.
No, of course. Yeah. It is that the mitochondria is not functioning at its best. Yeah. Now, how and why that is happening? There are several factors that influence why the mitochondria is not working at its best, right? Okay. Now, with science, it's not black and white. It's not this one answer. Oh, it's this is the reason why. No, there are several factors that can influence the mitochondria. I could say to you that it's just high inflammation in the body.
That's one thing,
and the inflammation is robbing the cell of oxygen and nutrients to the cell. Yep. And so when the cell is in a state of high inflammation for long periods of time, the mitochondria will die because the mitochondria is not being nourished. Okay. And nourishment to a mitochondria is oxygen and good nutritious food. Okay. Now, when the cell is inflamed, basically the molecules that take up the space, and I had to clarify this week just to be careful because there's a molecule timetable. I do believe it's hydrogen and nitrogen. Okay. I think more hydrogen, I was told, right? And just so we're clear, it's it's that molecule and I think a little bit of nitrogen. Okay. So when those molecules are taking up the space in a cell, and it's like, a little example is I fed that plant with Coca-Cola. Okay.
I think they are fed with Coca-Cola. They're preserved. But I understand.
Do you understand the what I'm trying to, the example I'm trying to create here? Yes. So if you're feeding it with Coca-Cola, that plant will not survive. It will die.
It'll die.
It's the same as the cell. Now, it's not like majority or 90% of the population are feeding the cell purposely and consciously with the bad stuff.
We don't know.
We don't even know.
We don't know.
That's right. But just to explain and understand how it works, if one cell is taken up with nitrogen and hydrogen for a long period of time, just because of the inflammatory markers, that's unconscious. We don't know where that comes from. So with science, we need to go to the reason why the inflammation is actually happening. Yeah. And that is different for each and every one of us here. Right, could be genetic mutation. Yep. It could be stress and cortisol, which it could be both. Yep. It could be bad diet. It could be like leaky gut and gut malabsorption. It could the factors are endless. Yes. But what we want to get to is that cell is currently taken up with nitrogen and hydrogen. Mm-hmm. The mitochondria will die because there's no nutrition going into the mitochondria for it to thrive. Yep. Now, in my book, I've explained it in a really good way. What is the mitochondria? The mitochondria, or Mr. Mitochondria, sorry. Let's reverse Mr. Mitochondria. I made him a character.
That's good.
Mr. Mitochondria.
What's he look like?
Oh, you know what? I'll show you.
Show me, please.
It's actually the picture of a real, like...
It's story time here at Stodgify. Get your kids around. We'll start.
I'll show you, Mr. Mitochondria.
I like it. I like this book. This is a cool idea. Why not?
So I very clearly, in a sequel, explained what is happening from start to finish. Now, Ebony and Luke are on adventure, and I'm basically saying to the kids, did you know that some foods can make you feel really good and some foods can make you feel really bad?
I can resonate with Mr. Luke, the way he's running there. That's exactly me.
Yeah. And obviously I've depicted it in the picture because kids actually look at pictures. And I've done it in a really way for them to understand if they don't understand the wording. What's energy? Like, so explain what energy is. It's all around us, and we need food, good food, to give our body energy. Okay. How does it work? It works that the mitochondria looks like a really, like, if you look at it like on Google. It's got so strong. But I made him a character. It mixes the food we eat with the air we breathe. So once again, nutrition and oxygen is a high functioning cell. What kind of nutrition do mitochondria like? So obviously wholesome diet, like natural foods. Natural foods. So we can't break down GMOs. GMO does not feed your mitochondria. Anything made up by humankind, your cell really doesn't break down, just so you know. And everything, anything and everything. But it will do it. It will just, what it will do, it will find another pathway to break down that molecule or the food that you're having, or that, you know, whatever it is. So it might be, give me an example of some GMO. It'll break down it'll try to break down the GMO. McDonald's potato fries. Yeah, so it'll create an enzyme. And it will go off its normal course to create that enzyme to break down what you're ingesting. Because once again, the body is doing everything to keep us alive. Our body's not working against us. It's always working for us. But what we've been believed as humans is that the body, I've got this illness. My liver. Something's happening. It's not doing it to you. It's always showing you. It's showing their messages for you to look at the whys. So if you're eating all this crappy food and all these processed stuff, guess what? Your body will do it, but there's going to be a side effect. There's a consequence as well, Okay. So I know for me, if I'm having processed food, like I have completely transformed my health over the last 2 years. I've always had education, but I've more put it into practice in the last 2 years because I've created the time and space for it. So everything I learned and I knew, and I had less stress, less cortisol, I was able to hone in on what it is that I know, because stress does drive a lot of your food decisions. How did you lower your cortisol? So I started doing some inner child therapy. I created an environment that, like, my own space, because I'm very, I would say I'm a very sensitive person. So, so I created my own space, my own little haven. Your little bubble. And so what I did is I worked on the subconscious mind and inner child, had my own space to energetically integrate all of that, and then started practicing basically what it is that I know, like, you know, pretty much all my knowledge. So a lot of us will know things, but I think environment is another big reason that will drive our decisions every day. And I know because I've lived the two. Do you know, like I've lived both. And even till now, I do have high stresses, but I've found tools and mechanisms to work with them. I've recently been challenged. Like I'm very vulnerable, so I'm very honest. And I've recently, like, we all have challenges. I've recently had challenges, and I've actually found tools to work with those challenges. I found them, and I can share them a little bit more as we go on. I will finish a little bit about this book. The mitochondria basically needs oxygen and food to power itself up. That's how it's highly functioning. Now, the next one is, like, you know, Ebony eats all her energy foods. You can see the mitochondria is like powering her up. He's like got energy. I'm very creative. I like to showcase it. I love it. Did you draw these yourself? No, I'm not an animator. Nah, but I definitely had the whole idea. You could have said yes. No one's going to listen to this. No, I don't lie. lie. And Luke actually continues to eat his energy stealer foods, and you can see his mitochondria is not dead, but is like a little bit.
He's struggling.
He's struggling. He's sad. Yeah. So, and this again is portraying the message I'm trying to get to the kids. This is the energy stealer page, and these are the energy food pages.
Let's just quickly 1 second. So
tell me.
Let's go through. So energy stealers. So what do we got? We've got donuts.
Yes.
Milkshakes, slushy, cake, hot dog, cookie, lollipop, fries, soft drink. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Do any of these things, Nick? Really good on you. I've actually moved away from a lot of those foods now, especially with my own garden. So what have we got here? We got green. So this is the energy foods. You got grapes, lemons, spinach, blueberries, sweet potato, eggs, honey. Honey's great. Eggplant, apple, broccoli, banana, orange, fish, avocado, capsicum. So pretty much foods that are naturally grown and not processed and created by man. So that's great. Yeah.
And look, it's just a small depiction because they are young kids.
Of course, that's lovely.
So all I'm trying to do is get them to feed their subconscious with these stuff. So they, you know, when they go to year 7 and they learn about mitochondria in year 7.
I can't even remember. I can't remember.
They'll go, oh my God, that book, like
yes.
energy and
no,
like
good on you.
They've like, you know, to get the link, you know, so I've planted a seed. It's very subtle, but if we want to change and evolve as humans, we need to start from 0 to 7.
Yeah.
We actually need to start there because that is building the next gen.
Yeah.
And
if you don't start there, you're going to become like us, where you're spending another good portion of your life trying to heal yourself, or sometimes be unconscious and continuing going on with all those wounds for the rest of your life.
Pretty much. Yeah. And I'll tell you, like, I just drove when on my way here, I drove past a place to get a coffee.
Yeah.
And I walked in and she was saying, oh, we do a lot of shisha, a lot of like, you know, fries and all that sort of stuff. Imagine a world where 90% of us were functioning from a healthy place. Yeah. Imagine every corner or every takeaway store being a health place. Yeah. And that you spent money in a health place rather than shisha or, you know, cigarettes or all that sort of stuff. Because, as I say, it's important in that time because that runs us pretty much our whole life. If we're running in 95% of the subconscious, 95% is the influence that we have in all the decisions that we make.
Yep. And the stories that we tell ourselves.
And the story we tell ourselves.
Over and over and over. And then before you know, you say, I can't do that. And then you're like, why can't you do that?
Exactly.
I had a big one where I felt like I couldn't leave the place that we were living at the time. And I kept on saying, I can't. And then before you know it, you start to seek a little bit and you start to break away at that story. And then a couple of years down the line, the story's gone. You can. Yeah. I can do it now. There's no more I can't. It's like you look at something, say, I wonder how I can achieve that. I wonder how I can do that. And then you start to look for ways to do that instead of telling yourself you can't because you block it off straight away.
Yeah, it's all in the mind. Look, to be honest, I'm the biggest culprit in running stories.
Yeah.
That's been my downfall, if anything.
Anthony Robbins would love you.
Yeah, literally. I have stories and like sometimes I get stuck in the story.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
And it actually creates like emotional stuff.
And then then everything believes it.
That's right.
Your subconscious doesn't know the difference.
Exactly. So I've had to find modalities to change or even just to integrate a newer story.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is no way in any kind of negative because as humans, we're all experiencing the same thing, Dan. We're all living here. We live in the same place. We're born into different families, have different matrix systems that set us up, but ultimately we all actually are functioning under the same matrix. But under that same matrix banner are different matrices that run depending on the family and the beliefs and the values and the ancestral. All of that influences who you are. So every generation will actually either evolve or advance in somehow if those members are doing the work to evolve.
Yep.
Not everything has to be evolved. There's beautiful traditions and there's beautiful things that we can carry, but we need to be evolving as a whole.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we talk about that. Like I mentioned to you before, the matrix system. I love this. Like this is exciting stuff for me.
You watched the Matrix? You've watched the movies?
I've watched it. So the concept is that yes, like we're plugged And then we go in and we get up every day and we do the same thing and whatever.
Which is, most people do that.
We all do that. But can I just tell you, there was something about me that could not do that.
Okay.
I just can't do it. I do it in, like, the job I do now, I'm doing it because I have purpose in what I do.
Yep.
I feel like there's a purpose in it. So I cannot do and run the matrix. I can't. I've said it multiple times. I won't be stuck in this, like, cycle. I think it makes you soulless. It makes you sick. Actually, easy control because of the sickness that you have, because it's making you soulless. Really, we are souls living in a human body, having a human experience.
Yes.
And the system does everything to make you a robot and make you not really explore and express your soul. I know different businesses and I know different areas where people are a bit more work on their soul. Like, they're a bit more, they express it a little bit more because they're aware of that. They've maybe done the evolution in prioritizing, working on the soul. And then there's some that aren't, maybe due to circumstances. There's no judgment here when we talk. There's absolutely no judgment. There's no judgment
here. We're allowed to express ourselves.
Yeah. There's no judgment, but yes. I observe.
Yeah,
I'm an observer.
You're a watcher.
I'm a watcher. I've always been. It hasn't worked for me as much, but it has. Like, it's also my strength. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's my strength, but it can be a weakness as well. So I've always thought, even as a child, I was like, okay, so we're born into this matrix, which is the government, which runs basically a system.
Yeah.
And we're all running under this system.
Bring yourself into the mic.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right.
And so underneath that is, like, you've got to be an engineer. You've got to be a HR manager. You've got to be a bank collector. You've got to be a school teacher. You're a chiropractor. You know what I mean? You're a dentist. So there's all these things and these banners that basically run who we are. I'm not saying they don't serve us in any way, but it's a system that's made up for us to basically fit under. Now, when you're doing the soul work or you're a soul person, you actually see through the matrix.
Yes.
You see the system. Do you know what I mean? And you see it, like, for me, some people don't make the system. They do not survive the system because they're not functioning the way. And I'll give you a very good example. Aboriginals, the first to be in this land.
Yep.
Their soul, the way they made up is to be on earth, connected to the earth, be in tribes.
Yep.
Yeah, connecting to their soul, all of that. That's how they were made up. But they were literally ostracized from their whole culture.
Yeah.
Now, if you see them now, they talk about them. Oh, we've given you this and we've given you housing. It's not what they want. It's not what they need. It's not what they're going to do to thrive.
Also, I believe that's everyone. A lot of cultures, like, we're not living the way that we should be.
Absolutely.
We need to be connected to land, need to be connected to our faith. You can say religion doesn't matter. You need to be connected to Creator.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah. And can I just say, like, I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Like, that's
fantastic.
That's my
Jesus is welcome here.
Yes. Yeah. Good.
Jesus is welcome here. Yes.
I have an intimate relationship with him, and it's a personal one because I do believe even under the system based on humans have change your perspective on things, right? So if it's a soul connection with Jesus came for everybody.
Yeah.
Jesus, for me, what he actually represents is, I don't know if you've watched The Chosen, and I watch it all the time. I love it so much, right?
No, it doesn't ring a bell for me.
Okay, so it's the gospel, it's the Bible in little series.
Yeah, okay? No, I haven't watched it.
So if we were to take it back then, the Romans were the government. They were the powerful ones. Yep. They took over their power. They, they used their power in a negative way, in a lot of ways, right? All the Jews that were living underneath them, they were actually all fishermen. They were doing bits and pieces so they could pay their taxes to the Romans and barely survive in their, building their homes and families. Jesus came in that time. He knew the story. He knew the system. He knew what was happening. He was fully aware. He came for all the people that were governed by the Romans.
Yes.
He came for the sick. He healed the sick.
Yep.
He came for the lepers. He actually came for the people who were ostracized in the community because there were all these rules, like,
Yep.
Women especially had no voice or nothing.
Yep.
They had to be married, and they were probably going through a lot of stuff at the time, but they had to fit into social communities and stuff like that and follow. Jesus came for that, for those people. Now, Jesus for me represents justice. Okay. So as we talk about the matrix, and we're talking about the matrix, right? For me, the government is our matrix, which is the Romans, and we are the people living underneath the system. Now, even under the system, which is the government, which runs the government, there is your parents who are influenced by that system.
Okay.
And then that becomes your matrix.
Yep.
And that's influenced by their ancestors, their beliefs, their values, their culture, all those things. Then they come here, they live underneath the system, and that also influences their beliefs, which are passed on to the kids as well. So you come from your mum and your dad, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. And their beliefs and their life experiences become pretty much yours. Not entirely, but they become yours because that's everything that they know, right?
Yep.
Which is being influenced once again by the big matrix system. And so you're running around 95% of your life, Daniel, and all your subconscious beliefs are making you make decisions that you make, get you to look at things from a perspective that will be different to someone else's perspective, get you to act in certain ways. Your subconscious creates your nervous system, and your nervous system pretty much will keep having similar experiences that match the belief of the nervous system over and over and over again.
Till you break it.
Exactly. Now, how do you break it? So I can become aware.
You read my mind. I was going to ask that.
Yeah. So I can become aware, and that's the work I've been doing because I've become aware of it.
Yeah.
But integration, the integration is different. It's actually rewiring of the nervous, rewiring of the brain, which is I'm just saying it properly. Rewiring of the subconscious.
Yes.
Okay. So when you rewire the subconscious, you literally change the thought, the belief. And you've got 95% of them are your beliefs. Imagine 95%. Imagine having to work with 95%. It's a forever journey. I don't think there's a final destination, and until we die, we'll keep evolving. But we can rewire our nervous system, and I do that through shadow work and inner child therapy.
You got some examples of that?
Yes. So, for example, let me give you an example, a proper example. So, if I have a belief that has been challenged, it's put my nervous system, like it's triggered me. I get triggered, right? Because I'm being challenged with a belief that I've believed, 37 years, and I'm having a very different experience in that time, or I'm being shown something different, right? That can create a nervous system dysregulation. Between your subconscious and your conscious, there's a little thing called a gatekeeper. So it's this little thing that basically opens up every time information wants to be fed to the conscious and subconscious. Now, if you've got this really strong belief, say it's really hardcore, right? And you have an experience in your life that completely challenges that belief, what do you think would happen to you or could happen to you?
No, you shut it down. You wouldn't listen to it.
Well, actually, you can potentially get mentally ill.
Sorry, you're going down that path. Okay, I was saying in the grand scheme of things, though, if something comes to change your idea of what's going on, a lot of people just know that doesn't exist for me. Like this is that story.
You've got two choices.
Yep.
You've got two choices. But if you are shown something in your conscious day from the conscious that challenges that belief,
it can rock you.
It can absolutely shake you.
I understand what you mean.
It can drop you. It can shake you.
It can make you very sick too.
It can make you very sick. Now, a lot of the greatest people in the world, like Albert Einstein, he actually went through psychosis Dr. Mark Zachbush, psychosis. Many of the greatest people that live actually went through a form of psychosis because their entire subconscious was completely disarrayed, like it was shut down, because they learnt things, knew things, had experienced things that no longer supported the beliefs. And you can actually go through that if you do not have the right tools. Now, psychosis really is just fast accelerated subconscious dying. But so for me, the work I do, if I get a trigger, I work on the trigger and I just integrate that one trigger. So I might evolve at 1%. Do you know what I mean? And then I get another trigger, then I might evolve in at 2%.
Okay.
And then I get another trigger and 3%. Now, eventually those percentages are going to be a natural evolution. Psychosis is literally all those subconscious beliefs completely dying, completely shutting down, completely being challenged, or fast too soon, boom, nothing to hold you up. Do you know what I mean? Because every day we're functioning on our belief systems.
Yes.
Literally. That's really what's our body physically is holding us up, but our mind is actually running us every day. So that's what I believe is happening. Now, look, I've gone into it a little bit deeper only because I have been dabbling in that kind of work for a little while.
Yep.
But basically, to take it back to the book, what I'm doing is I'm planting a 1% seed in that subconscious. I'm planting something that will help advance them. I'm teaching them the latest nutrition information, like adult information, but I'm teaching it for them in a fun, playful way. So when they are, whatever, I don't know, 18, 19, the mitochondria, yeah, we need to feed the mitochondria. Those foods don't feed the mitochondria. These ones do. Now, I've had feedback like I've had kids, eat a cookie and put the cookie in the actual ashtray, literally place it down once they read and saw the energy foods and energy stealer foods.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the results have been fast. It is a very effective book, I would say. It's just for me, what I'm working on is actually getting a wider reach right now. I'm publishing my second book now, which is about the gut-brain connection, which we all know is being talked about, in most recent.
Yes.
But I've got the vagus nerve, Mr. Vegas, as my character, the information highway. And I've literally, it's Ebony and Luke on the same journey, but it's in the vagus nerve now. This one was the mitochondria, and I have a few other ideas that I will be publishing over the next couple of years that can help educate them, but in a fun, playful way to advance them.
Yeah. How'd you come up with this idea for the book, though? So what triggered you to bring that upon you?
What was the story? Yeah. Okay. So it was really interesting. And just so you know, before we move on, there's always a happy ending.
Of course.
So as I'm teaching them that they can get better quick even if they get sick.
Yeah.
Because they can just eat their energy foods. I would say more of an adult, 22, I started practicing hot yoga.
Yes.
It was about 2 years.
I love hot yoga.
It's so good.
Yes.
So, and I'll tell you why it's good for you, the science, in a sec.
Yeah.
And then when I started practicing the hot yoga, I decided I was studying my nutrition degree at the time, nutritional Bachelor of Science, but I was like, I'm going to go and do this course because it actually transformed my health. It was fast, quick results.
Yes.
So you can study something, but the tools of helping you, it's more important that the tools you are using are helping you implement the changes rather than, hey, Daniel, I know avocado is really healthy. Broccoli is really healthy. I'm eating all those things, but what's influencing your decisions to make and eat the healthy food? And what hot yoga does, just so you know, if your body is holding onto a high toxic load, which causes high inflammation, which 90% of the population are currently struggling with, you will have low energy, low brain function, can cause leaky gut, sluggish liver. All those things affect your energy and your mood, and they affect your decisions on what you eat and put in your mouth. So the practice I found myself actually gave me quick, fast results. So knowing what to have and making the decisions, this practice actually allowed me to want to implement those changes in my life. Now, why? And I had to do a lot of research over the years and as to why it worked for me the most. Because remember we talked about the mitochondria and I told you what could be influencing the mitochondria from having a high inflammation load. It's several factors. For me, it was my genetic makeup.
Okay.
I have a genetic variation. This variation is a SNP. It basically skips a step in producing the end product. So a normal functioning human, like you or me, whoever, if their body's working 100%, all their methylation paths work at 100% to produce the end product. So we are full of nutrients and we're highly functioning.
Okay.
But if you've got generic variations in the SNP, so you basically miss a step,
Yeah.
what will happen is you won't produce the end product because there are steps missing in that. Now, one of the results of that is holding on to high toxicity for me.
And you could see one of those SNPs there was a SNP in doing that, yeah?
Yeah, the SNP was that one of the SNPs I had was causing me to just generally hold on to a high cellular toxic load.
Which gene was that?
Look, can I tell you, it's like there's heterozygous, there's homozygous, there's multiple SNPs.
Yep.
There's multiple, like there's an array of...
Because I've just done my gene test. I'm waiting back for the results.
Yeah, and Dina will run through that with you. Like she'll explain to you.
Yeah.
She will tell you what kind of variation you have, and whatever variation you have is generally linked to multiple symptoms. And if you look at your life, and what I've done is I've looked at my symptoms over 10 years. And when I actually understood and read my gene SNPs, I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh my God, that's why. And that's why genetic testing for me has actually worked phenomenally. Phenomenally. I'm not even saying you say it.
That's all right. Phenomenally.
Yeah.
Phenomenally.
Anyway, because I'm feeding the gene, I'm feeding the reason, I'm feeding the cause.
Yes.
I'm not actually band-aiding the
No, band-aiding's not good.
solution. So I'm going prevention.
Yeah.
So for me, for methylation, and Gary Brecker, who's a human biologist, he talks about it, everyone should be on a B supplement for energy.
My body really responded to vitamin B1 and vitamin B12, but mainly vitamin B1, but it was a particular version of it that I got online.
But when you say it responded...
I felt very calm.
So B1 and B12. So for me, B12 works on your myelin sheath, like which is your nervous system. Nervous
I'm
system.
listening to you. I'm just thinking about what was that actual particular product that was really good for me. So I'm listening, but I'm just in the background trying to figure it out as well.
So when you do your gene test results with Dina, what you do is you might make sense of why B12 and B1 work for you, because they're the things that you are not metabolizing or processing or creating. And so you lack the nutrient because of the gene variation. If you lack the nutrient, then that's where the ailment shows up.
Yep. Okay.
So the newest evidence is Alzheimer's and Parkinson's is just a COMT gene. COMT is a gene variation, which means we don't metabolize and we don't synthesize glucose. If you don't synthesize and metabolize glucose for long periods of time, the result is Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Now, it's not for everybody because everyone's genes are set up differently.
Yes.
But the gene variant is the thing that could have caused you to be on the path
to go that way.
Yep. But, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who I have quoted in a lot of my research, give me the child and I'll show you the man, which is basically, child from 0 to 7. He also founded epigenetics, and epigenetics is like we're two petri dishes, and in the petri dishes were the same cells. Like, so imagine I got two petri dishes and I took 4 cells out of you. I put 2 in one and the other 2 in one, and they're different environments. Yeah. Both of those cells showed up for different results depending on the environment. So it's always, yes, we've got the same genes, but the environment will express in different ways depending on what's happening.
So ultimately, it's a good thing to go get this gene testing done, see what you're deficient in and what's not working, and then you can start eating, supplementing, and understanding and creating a new environment for your whole body to start being optimized.
Exactly.
So ultimately, the thing that really worried me was, you're going to find out things that like you're guaranteed to get Parkinson's, or you're guaranteed to get Alzheimer's if you get those genes, but it's not the way that Dina said to me. It's not the way. So this means if you have those deficiencies or those SNPs, you can now or supplement and look after yourself to ensure that to have a better prognosis for yourself.
Absolutely. And so when you said you would be worried, if anything, I would be so excited.
I understand, but it's a story in here. Do we want to know? Do you
What?
want to? That's
Because so you don't want to
something
feed
creative.
the story, maybe. But
Yeah.
for me, it's like the best way to actually
Well,
not get you to the point to express any of that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'll go
That's right.
deeper
Yeah,
on my psychology there because it's
Yeah.
important. But it's sort of like I've got a with my anxiety. What I found was I personalize things. I create massive stories.
Yeah.
You'll tell me something, I'll internalize it. I'll make it about me, and then what's it when you magnify them?
Yeah, you magnify the story.
And it's sort of like something so small, and I turn it into something so huge,
Yeah.
and then it just runs me, and I'm just literally scared. So that's what I'm trying to break down now, so to show that it's not actually the case.
So, like, and I'd be interested to know, Dan, you might have the comp gene, because I know I've got half of the comp gene, and a comp gene is Albert Einstein, but he's fully expressed comp gene. Fully, like 100%
So what is that
operating.
comp gene? What is it?
It's like you don't metabolize at all. You can get a bad anxiety for it, but yet, and you look, instead of processing information every day, like day to day normal, like I would say humans, you have the way you think is all the way up here. It's like you look at patterns. You look like your perspective and your insight. Now, Albert Einstein was the most clever man that ever existed.
Okay.
But can I tell you, socially, absolutely not highly functioning based on the comp gene.
Interesting.
It is a creator comp gene. It is a very ambitious person because we're all or nothing. We are very inside. Like we have this. The way we process information is like it's like Einstein kind of information. It's not like normal kind of information, like, you know, you go to work and you process, like you're an engineer, right? You're an engineer. So you go, you process the information. You might be forcing yourself to function in that way at your best, but your true self doesn't actually function in, like, process information.
Interesting.
So, like, I'll give you an example. I've ended up in the Pilates and yoga world.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah. Because when I worked in the normal matrix, you know, and I still work in the normal matrix. Like I'm a business development manager. I work, you know, for a supplement company. For me, that is still the matrix, but there is purpose around that matrix.
Gotcha.
I've got a purpose there. So for me, but 70% of that, I do not want to function in the matrix. So I will exercise regularly, look after my health, focus on my passion and purpose, be around like-minded people. All those things matter to me in how I'm going to excel. I have a vision that is kind of a little bit high up there, and but can I tell you, sometimes in everything has a positive and negative.
Of course.
Sometimes it is the hardest thing, because if you're not getting to that place, you get depressed, for example. Do you know what I mean? But then when you're in the zone and you feel like things are progressing and you're moving in that way, you're like, oh, this is so exciting.
I get like that too. When things are progressing, you're very happy. And when when there's an obstacle or standstill, it's not going that way, I get a bit upset, a bit anxious, and start to get a little bit depressed. But it's all about, for me, what I figured out is changing my tact and having a look, and also being patient and looking at the grand scheme of things and which way do we go next.
You know what, Dan? I've done the exact same. So I had this vision of this book.
Yeah.
I have a vision of multiple books of Ebony and Luke. I have a vision of them on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I have a vision like a Coco Melon vision. You know, I don't know if you watch Coco Melon.
No idea what that is.
It's like characters.
But I'm going to say yes. No,
they're like characters that have a rhyme for everything, and they're teaching kids something different.
Oh, lovely.
It's the same concept, but I want it to be around this. I've even developed a formula that is going to help with the gut-brain connection for kids. I've already put it together. How I'm going to release that, I don't know. So I have this vision. I have these visions. I'm so excited. But when things are not working out in the way that I want them, I can get really, really down, because I'm trying to get to a place, and sometimes the letdowns really get me down.
And then how do you bring yourself back up again? Because that's very important. A lot of us are down, and then how do you pull yourself out of that?
So I will do inner child therapy, and that would change the rewiring of the subconscious belief that made me feel down about the situation. So I will change my perspective on it.
Yep.
So instead, like I find inner child therapy or shadow work the most effective, because what will happen is I would do work with my therapist, like the inner child therapist, of a night before.
Yep.
And I've rewired a belief system. And then within 7 days, something will show up that is in alignment with my shift in my subconscious.
Interesting.
Literally. I've had synchronicities, God incidences, whatever you like to call it, with as fast as 24 hours sometimes, based on that. The thing when you do subconscious programming, and for me, and this is because I'm sensitive, I need to say in a quiet space and not be influenced by or go backwards in my beliefs. I need to encase that belief, create an environment so that I can sit in it, so it becomes solid.
Yes, I agree.
And when that belief is solid, you can only advance in that belief. Most people, if they are struggling, they are what is it called, fragmented. And I've been in that way. So I've looked at something I want to get, that fragment. So I had this vision of it, but I've gone back to an old belief, and I'm there, and I'm here, and I'm there, and I'm here, and but that's challenge. That's fragmentation. Until Swan talks about it, can actually lead to mental health disorders.
Of course.
Because
what are you fragmenting? Where's that story coming from? It's coming from you, coming inside here. So it's all not put together.
Exactly. So when you do the work with the therapist, she helps you align to the same vision and stops you going back to the fragmentation or the old belief or the old thing. But when you're integrating, it's so easy. If I can do it with her overnight and I've changed my energy, I need to make sure the environment that I'm in for at least a month or 6 weeks, to be honest, is actually aligned to that belief. Because and old things make me go back to the old belief, the old, and I don't want to go back there, because all I want to do is, do you know what I mean? I need to keep moving onto that path. The only way to elevate or to get to the next place is to keep in that belief without being fragmented for so long. It's so solid that you eventually create it. And I have a vision of what I want to do with this. I have a vision, and I've had opportunities and things that have come,
of course,
gone,
of course,
but come and are still coming. And all I can do is be patient with these opportunities, because whatever's right for me will happen, and the right thing will happen at the right time.
That's also faith, that's manifestation, that's flow states, a whole heap of stuff there.
It's
aligned with your path.
Exactly.
You know, going back to a lot of people have traumas. Most people have trauma. When we say traumas, like, people think trauma is like some massive event that happened. Sometimes it can just be something very small, but it was a traumatic event in the eyes of
that person,
your
person,
younger self back when you were younger. So I had to start doing quite a bit of inner child work, and I started along that path when I started Reiki, and that's when I was 22, 21, 22, 23, around that age, I started to go back. And because I was in a world of pain, I was depressed, and I had to start healing myself. So going back to the younger version of myself and finding out that story. But the thing is, I never really truly understood the story until now, after 30 years old. So now I've had to go back again
to that story. And then eventually what happened was, and this is at different parts of my life, that's 7, 14, 21, 28, what I found was that each one of these 7-year increments, something happened. Yeah, I get that.
Okay. So 14-year-old Daniel, where his parents split up, that was a hard one, but that one finally had to go through the process of actually all I needed to do was go back and talk to him. So I closed my eyes, sat there, and I saw him in the bathroom crying, and I just pretty much told him it was okay. So everything's okay. Look at me now at what age I am. And the reason why I'm sharing this now is because some people might not know how to do this. Yeah. And I encourage people to go to a professional that can help them. Yeah. But I just had to tell him it was okay.
Yes.
And then I brought him in, hugged him, kissed him, and then he came in. And then it did that a couple of times. And eventually I don't get affected by that 14-year-old, I've brought that 14-year-old self back.
Back in, yeah.
You know, now I'm going back through the other ones and working on them.
Yes.
And hopefully, you know, there's some saving me and I don't have to get put down at the vet's office, you know?
Yeah, I get that. You know, it's really interesting because I can talk to you I love this topic.
Yes.
Because I have been doing that for the last, 24 months. Yeah. I have my own podcast called Be Thyself.
I know. We didn't mention that in the beginning. So it's
That's okay.
Be Thyself podcast.
By Joanne Laoulach. Yes. And it's all about human potential.
Yes.
So what I do, when you're being healthy, it's not what you're putting in your mouth, Dan. It's how you think. It is different types of therapies. It's your gut. It's everything. Everything is encouraging the full human potential.
Yeah.
So I've been on my own little health journey as well.
Yeah.
So for me, that's why I wanted to create this podcast, because I wanted to give people tools and resources. Some people align to it and some people are not going to align. And this is the thing. So I'm just going to put myself out there and be my authentic self and talk about
same with
the journey.
Stodgify. Same thing. People align, people don't align. That's okay.
That's it. And your people that want align will you'll reach them.
Yeah.
And the people that don't align.
I'm starting to build a harem. Tribe.
Yes, tribe, a Stodgify tribe.
Yeah. But
I actually love the name. Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a little while because they go, branding, and Stodge, Slojewski. So I was like, you know what, put it together, because in my work environment, that's how they all call me. So I was like, I've already created a brand. So I go from there, and Mr. Nick put this together here.
Yeah.
You know, the colours. But it's a big thing. So I lost track of thought. That's okay. We were talking about the inner child, and I think we should go a little bit in here, because that's a very important thing. A lot of us are just continually playing these stories in our head. Now, for example, now that I'm going down this rabbit hole with the likes of Dina, yourself, Mick the Podman, I've been trying to lose this baggage that I've got on my body for years. It just doesn't seem to work. And then what would happen is I would get in a better place when I'm eating well. But then, for example, let's say there's, I don't mind mentioning this, there's free food or there's a barbecue or whatever. I feel the need that I have to go rush there and I have to eat. And I'm like, well, where's this coming from?
Where's this belief coming from?
Why do I feel like, or if there's soft drink there or something, why do I feel that I have to, like, something's urging me to go to that? So what's going on? So where did this start from?
Yeah, and it always goes back to your childhood.
Yeah, well, I remember a memory when I was I was living in Hurstville, so that would have been it was in primary school. I used to always go to the kitchen.
Yes.
Sometimes in the mornings, and I used to have a sip of Coke.
In the morning?
In the morning, in the afternoon, doesn't matter. There was always, because it's a WOG household, there's always soft drink. There's always uncles, aunties coming past, Scotch, Coke, this and that. And I would drink that. And I remember then, like, why did I always go there? Why? Because at the time I had high stress load, because I was seeing the environment that my parents were in. Yeah. And when you would go drink Coca-Cola, and this is not a plug for Coke, and you guys like the product that you make. No comment, but fuck.
I know. Yeah.
All right. That sugar.
The system.
What happens? What does that sugar do to a young kid? What does that drink do? What does all that sugar do? You would know as a nutritionist.
You'd be like diabetic by the age of 12.
But what does it do to this up here? How does it make you feel? It made me feel like it made me feel good. So it releases.
It makes you feel good for a short while.
Yes.
But the thing is, with short while goodness, there are big dips.
Yeah.
And the dips make you go back and have the quick hit.
I created an addiction.
So it's literally an addiction. And look, I'll be honest, I love coffee.
Yeah, I love coffee. I'm not going to stop drinking that ever. I love coffee,
but can I tell you, when you are changing a pattern or a belief, you do not do it like this. No. And some people actually may be functioning that way. But what it is, instead of you having 3 Cokes a day, you go down to 2 Cokes a day. And then in a week's time, guess what, Dan? You go down to 1 Coke a day. Eventually, by 3 or 4 weeks, depending on how you integrate it and all the work you're doing outside of that, is you'll go down to pretty much no Cokes a day. You might switch the Coke over to a coffee for the hit because you need some sort of a hit. And I'll be honest, Dan, going to work every day in not your passion and purpose can make people get into bad habits. Yeah. This is why I call this place the Matrix, because we're all plugged in and we've got to do shit that we don't want to do. So what is going to motivate us to get there? And there are so many people, health experts that I follow, like who are really big, you know, in the industry, and people might say they're so out there. The way they think is so out there. But you know what? Because they found the truth and they're actually living their best truth. But you are not, you and I are not exactly where they are. Maybe we'll be there one day. I'm not sure. But progress for me and success for me is progress every day. So I couldn't do this yesterday. I do it tomorrow. If I can do that tomorrow, I can do more tomorrow, because you can only increase. Success is an increase of where you weren't and where you might be. If I look back in 12 months' time, okay, I'll go, oh, God, if I was on that bandwagon of progressing every day, whatever I didn't do, I couldn't do, I can do now, I look back and go, wow, how far have I come? But nothing happens overnight.
No, it doesn't.
It is consistency. There are days, I tell you, I'm just like, why am I here? I'll be honest. There are times where I'm trying so hard with this stuff and it's just whatever. And I'm like, why am I here? Why am I here? Why did I have this thought to create it? Where did that belief came from? What's my drivers? I've worked on all of them. I've been working on it. Everything is a direct response to the environment you grew up in, which is your family and your childhood. So I've had to go back and go, why did I make that decision to write this book? What were my drivers around making this book? Am I trying to be heard? Like, there were things that I looked at everything. I actually looked at everything. When I did the deep work, I realized that actually, no, God planted that seed for me. I was over in the OC and I went to training. I told you I was doing Bikram for 2 years. And then after I finished my degree, I went to study the course.
Oh, so you had to go in America to do that?
I went to America and we went to the OC. And I remember it was one weekend we got like Saturday afternoon and Sunday off from training. We were training full, like gun ho for like 7 days. Not 7 days, 6.5 days. And then we go to Dr. Zeus's art gallery, which is so weird that you mentioned this prior to the podcast, because I was like, wow. I went into his gallery because I was thinking, what am I going to do when I get back home to Sydney after my degree? I finished my degree. What am I going to do? I know I want to do Bikram and I want to teach it, but I'm going to do it full time. And I saw that book and I said, I'm going to write a kids' nutrition book. But I actually started writing the book, but I placed the book on hold. Do you know why? Came back. Busy with life.
Of course.
Family.
Happens.
Bills. Relationships. Or I was trying to get myself set up. I just parked it. There were times, and this is why you have to believe in the process and timing. Because there were times that I wouldn't even have looked at the book and it was just completely hidden, like in the shadow, in the dark. But there was an experience that I had in my life 4 years later that I said, I'm taking this book out and I'm going to publish it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it. And I did it. It's been 8 years from this book. It was a very long time ago, and my second book. And a lot of that has been about my personal development, self-confidence, self-awareness, all that sort of stuff. Everything that I done in my life has all been an indicator of where I've been mentally and emotionally.
What aren't you confident about?
No, I'm not saying I'm not confident.
Because you said self-confidence.
Yeah, because as humans, your whole journey is about confidence of what it is that where you were and where you want to be. So, for example, I'll give you an example. Before I wanted to become a Bikram yoga instructor, I was like, can I be a Bikram yoga instructor? Like, can I do this? Actually, can I do it? It's like the self-belief of me doing it. Now, after 10 years of doing it, I'm like, bloody oath, I can do it. I can do it. I can be it. But then from being a Bikram, the only next level was to be a hot hit Pilates instructor. Prior to that, I was never ever thinking of being a Pilates instructor. Everything is part of your journey to advance you and to grow you in who you are. Yeah. To have the self-confidence, because you don't overnight be something.
No, you can't.
You can't.
Maybe you can. So we're not going to put that story out there, but I know it usually takes time and persistence. Yeah?
And that is also programming. It's a nervous system programming as well. So who I was before I went to Bikram yoga training was not the Joanne that maybe I thought I would be a good Bikram yoga teacher. Do you know what I mean? And I had to learn the craft, and I had challenges learning the craft.
Of course. It's not easy.
It's not easy. There were challenges, but you know what? I stayed.
Yeah.
And God kept me in that path. And then we just released a Hot Hit Pilates course, and that was the next progression for me. But if I hadn't done that for 10 years, I would not have thought to do that. Do you understand?
I understand.
You're not one thing overnight. You're something over the years. And as humans, naturally, if you're in a BDM or a customer service role, you can only move into the next thing. You don't go into that thing. You actually progress into that thing.
Of course, you got to set deep roots as well, and you have to build solid foundations.
Yeah,
and that's why I just wanted to point out to anyone that wants to do something, but then says, I don't know if I can do that. Just have a go. Just give it a go.
Yeah.
Try, set up a plan, and just start to progress. And you'll see before you know it, it'll take over and it'll become your life.
Yes.
Same thing as me doing with this podcast here.
Yeah.
I was umming and ahhing about it for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm only, 9 episodes in, but I'm enjoying myself. And I couldn't see how it was going to happen, but I set the intention saying this is something that I would like to start doing.
Yeah.
And before you know it, all the stars align. And my guardian angel over here,
Yes. Yeah.
you know, he came along.
So when you plant it in your mind and you're solid about it and you're not fragmented, you will be fragmented in the early stages because once again, it's a reprogramming. Yeah. You don't confidently go into something 100% ever unless it's been progression for you and it's been planting seeds.
Of course.
So for me, I can only but succeed in this. I can only. Do you know why? Because the seeds have been planted a long time ago. And I've gone through the ups and downs and I've gone through the fragmentation of it. But what I've done is because it's been such a long journey of fragmentation, I'm like, no, now I'm going full gun ho. I don't know about you. Like, I'm 37 years old, right? And I think to myself, life is so short. If I don't want to do if I'm not going to do what I want to do now, I'm not going to do it.
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm looking at my life 34. I'm turning around. 20 years ago, I was doing this, and it's gone in a blink of an eye. Looking at my parents at what age they are, my uncles, they're they're starting to get old at that point. You're starting to question, like, what's going on? Like, it's not an infinite amount of time. Our souls are infinite, but this actual lifetime that we have, this experience that we have it's written, it's there. It's only a short amount of time. Like what? 80 years, that's nothing.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you feel, that is so far away. But when you get to your 30s, you get to your 40s, you literally look at that and you don't have that much time.
And Dan, I'm healthier than what I was when I'm 20. Yeah. So I'm not worried about me being ill or, dying of an illness. Actually, it's not, if anything, I'm stronger than what I am now. And so I do get mentally challenged and I'm working on the mental strength as well. And because I have limiting beliefs around my belief around being a successful Lebanese woman, very strong. Do you know what I mean? So we all have limitation, like we all do. Like every single human functioning has limitations around certain topics, around certain areas. So this is why when you do the work, you're evolving and you're creating a change in your evolution. There is going to be a change. There will be a change. So if I'm going to do it this lifetime, then I've set that up for the next generation to do it. Because only can someone, like, do you understand?
I understand exactly what you're saying.
But that's all the work that I do is that I don't. So I noticed a pattern. I would work in jobs, but I had a belief that I'm going to get married and have kids, and then I'm not going to work.
Okay.
Right? Where did that belief come from?
That sounds like traditional Lebanese.
Okay, there's no one to blame here, and that's a beautiful course. Like, I could have done that, and that would have been amazing for me. Who knows? I could have been so happy doing it. We're not saying that, but in my life, that we didn't pass that avenue. So I had to change this core belief that no, I'm not going to get married and have kids. I need to be pushing through where I need to go. Okay. I need to have a plan, of course, and action, and it actually can happen. There's no leaning back on anybody, nothing. This is fully me. I have to take the reins. And your whole energy changes. So it's like, for example, I'll give you an example, right? Daniel, what's your surname?
Stoichevsky.
Oh, God, Daniel. Do I have to, how do I say that?
Hey,
Stoichevsky.
No. You've opened up the can of worms. All right, we're going to go through it.
Yeah.
Stoy.
Chev.
Ski.
Stoichevsky.
Yep.
Stoichevsky.
Yes.
So Daniel Stoichevsky.
Beautiful.
If I say to you, your name is Daniel Rubert, are you aligned to that belief?
No, it's not my name. Because
it's not your name. But who told you what your name is?
My family.
Exactly. And how do you know that's true?
Sorry?
How do you know that's true?
That's the family line that we're born in.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So, for example, most people have to align to the belief of something for them to achieve it.
Yep.
So I have to believe, and I've got no other option, that I'm a successful author, series of books, multi-millionaire. I'm just giving you an example.
I think this is what you want, though.
Yeah. No,
Good on ya.
it's literally what I want.
Yeah,
like
good.
it's something I want. But
Fuck yeah.
what my journey has been is believing in that.
Yeah.
And so I have to go down to the roots of where that belief doesn't align.
Okay.
And then to get to the alignment of that belief, it's actually a journey, and I may not achieve it in this lifetime. I may not, or I might. Do you know what I mean? So when we say, okay, so I made the realization that I'm not fully aligned to that belief. I have fragmentation around it.
Where is it?
Like, no, it's just in my brain.
I know, but where? So as you go down the line, where have you found that it's not aligned to what you want?
Well, it's just that I don't even think that it is possible.
Okay.
Like, do you know what I mean?
I understand. Okay.
Yeah, and that I have to be in the energy of a person that is that. Okay, and it's a different energy. So the work I do is changing the energy and changing the belief to align to that. That is hard work.
Yeah.
And it's not actually overnight.
No.
It's actually rewiring this and creating environments that keep feeding that rewire. Keep feeding the rewire. Got to keep feeding the rewire. Because if you don't feed the rewire, you go back to the fragmentation, you go back to that belief.
Of course.
And then you got to rewire it.
Because that is a very strong core belief that a lot of us have, because the whole time the story for many years was fed.
Exactly. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing, Dan. I have happily married sisters in beautiful relationships. They've got kids and they're doing absolutely fine. That's their sole purpose.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not a negative or positive thing. This is just to help people understand who align to this message that are potentially trying to achieve something that may not be in their core belief system. These are the techniques and things that you have to do to get there.
Yeah.
So this is very technical, and this is the journey that I have been in for a long time.
I can see you thought about it quite a lot.
When you say I thought about it, I've been doing the work around it. So, like on the pathway, I've been doing the work around it.
You put a lot of energy and time, and you spent quite a bit of time analysing, which is good.
And understanding more, because I need to integrate those things into my life. The best teacher for anything is someone who's actually going through the experience.
Of course.
I'm actually not going to go, hey, this is the textbook. This is what the textbook says. Interesting. It's like naturopaths. I see them. They go back and study at 40 or 50 because they had a health problem and they actually had to fix their health problem, and they found a solution. So they go back and study the course.
The best ones are like that.
And they're on stage talking about that particular ailment and exactly what needs to happen, because all they need to do is go to the system, study the system to give them the accreditation to talk about what they know through their own journey and experience.
I gotcha. Same as yourself with being a nutritionist and understanding all the genes and how that's created a story and what you've done to help yourself there. Same as Dina.
Yeah.
Okay. Same as Mr. Mick, the podman, being a hairdresser, but also panel beater and all these chemicals. So you see these things that it basically comes down to something's not right here, whether it's an ailment, I'm not happy with this. And then you go on a journey to heal that or help that or find out the answer.
To understand it.
Yes. And that makes the best. And then you become an expert in that because you've lived that.
Exactly. Okay. So, and you have to understand that, yes, there's all this science and subconscious programming. God made science, but God planted that seed in you for you to help you understand what that is. Because if I didn't have that plant or seed planted in my brain, I wouldn't be on this journey. I wouldn't actually have gotten even to this point. Like there was a seed planted, and that seed actually requires me to move into that space.
You also have a very high value on children.
I will reframe that. It's not that I have a high value on children, because I'll always be honest with anything. It's not that. That's not what it is. Yeah. It's that I have a high value of achieving optimum results, and from all the research that I've done is that it all started at children.
Okay.
And so, we talk about genes, epigenetics, genes. Yeah. We get to the root cause. That's the prevention. This is prevention. So it's that I've thought about it so down the line and understood. When you're looking and we're dealing with science, you don't Band-Aid the problem. What I do is I go, why is that problem there? Oh, let's go. Okay. Then I get to the root cause and work on it from the root cause.
Yep.
The thing is that root cause can be a whole bag of things. There's a lot of digging. Do you know what I mean? So, and you try to find the answers. Genomic testing has been the most effective for me. And this is 10 years of me being in the space and having my own health challenges. It's the number one thing that has actually helped me achieve optimum results. But it's not just been the genomic testing. It's been the shadow work, inner child therapy, and all those things. And look, Dan, I'm going to be honest, I'm not even 100% there yet. I'm still on that journey, but I'm here today to talk to you about the things that I've learnt, the science to back it up, and the root cause understanding of most things that drive people and help them make their decisions. And that's really, for me, what I have to offer here today. So I actually wrote that book because 8 years ago, I realized, oh, wow, instead of seeing a 19-year-old and tell them to go on this plan for their health, why don't I actually educate them at 0 to 7 so they have an understanding that is so inbuilt in their subconscious mind, they don't have to relearn it at 19 years old. So what you're doing and what I'm doing is relearning a lot of things, right? We're relearning a lot of things. But what about planting that seed for them? What about them knowing about it from then? Because if they know about it from then, all they'll come to me for is affirmation or maybe a procedure or a tool that they need to apply it. But they know about it. They're already aware.
So you plant the seed at that age.
Yeah.
How do we keep on watering it? How do we keep on feeding it after that? Because then you're going from 7 to 14, 14, 20. You got the rest of your life. So what's going on after that point?
Yes. So the thing is, Bruce says up to 14.
Yep.
So you can have experiences that also influence your subconscious, but really 0 to 7 is the big stuff.
Yes.
After that, I'll tell you, this is where I believe in God and the soul journey.
Okay.
Do you know, like, Dan, we can sit here and I can break it apart and we can look at all the evidence. And yes, for human potential to get to root cause, we can understand all of this. But you were born into your family. Your soul was put there for a reason. You can't, you can't control and manipulate that. Do you understand? You can look at the circumstances and see how you want to advance your life or how you want to fulfill your soul purpose, but you cannot change or manipulate what it is. That's where I believe in God. That's where my faith is.
I got you. If we take a DNA test, my dad, all the way down the back of the line, you'll find that there's commonality between us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the thing is, that's why I love and appreciate my surname, and that's the family I come from. Also, my mum's family. So I put a very high value on that because I just believe, we're souls. We come down, but we make a choice on where we're going and what we're doing, and we choose that. But you'll find you can't. Your family's your family, your blood, your DNA, all that type of stuff.
They actually set you up for your life.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of my family. Do you know what I mean? So, but what I'm trying to do is optimize the things I have. So I've looked at, certain traits, of, say, for example, it might be my mum and dad, right? And I've looked at their best assets and I say, how do I maximize that?
Yes, I got you.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So my dad is like full of energy. He's always busy, right? I'm very much the same. So what I do is I've then focused in on like Pilates and yoga because that's the energy part of me that needs to burn and work. I know I need to do that. And actually in my genomic profiling, I need to do high intensity training. It's actually very important. That was part of my protocol.
I can't wait to see my profile to see that as well.
Yeah. And I need to implement high intensity training in order for me to continue to detoxify, help with my neurotransmitters and my GABA receptors. All of that is essential. I'm on a B supplement, activated B. I'm on a cellular primer to support the inflammation markers that I might get, anti-inflammatory fish oils. I take a liver support. I do the high intensity training. I also take electrolytes to balance out the high intensity training I do because you can't do too much of that. That will also can lead into a negative. So it's always about the right balance. And I do sauna, hot heat Pilates twice a week.
So we're very similar in regards to I feel the best when I'm detoxifying and sweating.
But can I just say, when you're detoxifying originally, you'll feel very tired. You're going to get lethargic.
Of course, yes.
Because your body's like cleaning and
But I feel amazing after.
But if you're consistent with it and you ride that wave, so you might just need to have more rests in that time. You might need to take less stress. You might need to have more naps because...
I like an afternoon nap.
if you can do it, Dan, I would recommend it in the places that you're detoxifying. Because what will happen, you get a really low energy. What do you get? What do you want to eat when you get low energy?
I go straight to starchy foods, carbs, starchy food, sugary stuff.
See, exactly. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you sleep that off and you're not ingesting that food, eventually you can only progress in the detoxification working, and then you start to get your energy. And so you translate. So that's why I don't believe cold turkey. I don't. I don't think it is the most effective tool. Everything is a slow progress.
Okay.
If I'm rewiring my brain, it's going to be a slow process. Yep. I'm not going to turn around. I'm going to work on 5% of that.
Okay.
If I've worked on 5% on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, how many percentage is that?
Well, 5 days by 5, that's 25%.
Exactly. And if I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do the next in 5, what's that? It's 50%.
Okay. I like the way you're thinking there.
Because I'm very realistic. There are certain factors. We can talk about this all day, but I'm not living in anyone's shoes. I don't deal with the stresses they deal with. So when I'm talking, people won't even resonate with me because I'm going, this is the way you do it. It's the only way you got to do it. No, I'm not factoring in their lifestyle, their financial pressures, their availability. Say they've got to work full time and a lot, whatever, and they don't have time to do exactly what I said. Oh, you should just exercise 5 days a week, and I'm just giving you an example. What I'm saying is, okay, well, you're working this. How many days can you push yourself to go to a training?
Yep.
So it might be 3 days. Let's start with 2 days. We'll start with 3 days, and then start taking this green supplement so you can help with your detoxification or this protein. So that way, we've progressed 5% in that week. And if they're consistent in that 5% of the week, that will increase.
People don't look at the 5%. People don't look at the little battles they have. They just look at the ultimate war. If you want to use that, terminology, it's like you always got to look back at the little wins that you've had in life. It's the small little wins that build up.
Exactly.
The ultimate, and that's very important.
Do you know why people don't? Let me tell you, right? And I get it. I get everything, Dan. This is why I work with what I understand. Is if I'm training and exercising and eating well and I'm not getting results, what am I going to do? What do most people do? It's not working.
Stop it.
Why am I spending my time on this stuff? Ugh. I'm not going to spend any more time. I've just spent this much money and this energy and mental energy to try to achieve this result. And I can't see anything. It's almost not, do you know what I mean? It's almost not sustainable. I can't see it from far. Do you get what I'm saying? It's too far. It's too far. It's the same with my books. There's been so many times that I've actually gone, how are we going to, what are we going to do to get there? How are we going to get there? And it takes a lot of mental energy, a lot of motivation, a lot of rewiring, a lot of environmental circumstances that support the rewiring to actually advance in that space. And that's why I say it's so holistic. And I do understand. I get told I understand too much. I'm very empathetic. But if we're looking at human potential, we are looking at all facets of human potential. The whys, the environment, the circumstances, the resources, all of those things matter.
Yeah.
If I don't have any resources in my neighborhood where I live to exercise, that is going to 5% make my decision not to get up. I don't even want to get up. I'm forcing myself to get up. But if I don't have the resources, why am I going to drive 30 minutes to the next suburb or an hour to do it?
Depends on what you want to do with yourself as well.
That's what I'm saying. But if I'm mentally forcing myself to go, pushing myself, if I'm in that stage of transforming my life, an hour drive out to somewhere is not going to be motivation for me. It's just not.
I understood. So it just depends on what you place on high value and also a whole heap of stories and pretty much where you're going in life. Now, we've spent quite a good portion of time talking, so it's got to end somewhere. So to go full circle, if you could give a piece of advice to your younger self when you needed it the most, what would it be?
Dan, I thought about this. I thought about it. What would it be? Is I would give less, I know I don't want to use that language, less care, less worry, less, because I'm very empathetic, less empathy around a situation and push through that situation.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because for me, I feel like I could have been maybe 5 years ahead of myself without that stuff, without me thinking, worrying. Do you know what I mean? Like delving into it. I don't regret it. It's still part of my journey, and I believe in the timing.
Yep.
And I do believe that if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be where I'm at now as well, because you can't fast forward everything like that. It has to happen to you for you to learn. But yeah, I would actually like push through faster, not worry less and push through faster, because I do have a tendency, being very empathetic and, you know, understanding, to delve into things and, you know, like really think about things. I think that needs to be less of that, less emotion, less of that. Yeah.
Lovely. Where can people find you?
So I'm on www.joannelaoulach.com.
Yep.
You can find the information there. You can also buy my book online from there.
Lovely.
By the time you release this podcast, I do believe the next book will be available. So
this will be going out about 3-4 weeks.
Oh, okay. Potentially not. It could be on the verge, but I have signed up with the agency, so I'm ready for it to go ahead.
We'll keep in touch on that one there. We'll put all the links in there.
Yeah, and it'll be on the website. It'll be on the website.
Your Instagram's quite full. I've got it up here. It's quite full of a lot of yoga and Pilates.
Yeah.
So you training at the moment? Do you teach at the moment?
I teach hot hit Pilates.
Where do you teach that? If people want to...
Yeah. I teach in 5 Dock.
That's too far for me, sorry.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. So Inner West, I do teach there.
Okay.
There are studios around Bella Vista, like the hills.
Yeah.
That's the closest that I know. Yeah. They do hot yoga, not Pilates as such, but they do the hot yoga.
Yep.
So that would be the closest as well. And I do believe like there are places like, not for exercise, but Mitchenberry might have a city cave. And so if anyone wants to do sauna or salt float tanks, which I do think are very necessary, high intensity can be you at home, getting a skipping rope, getting some weights. You know, if you don't, I'm to say for those who don't have the resources, you can be doing them yourself. But for rejuvenation, detoxification.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
And I know Zoo Fitness in Penrith, they've got hot yoga there. So you know
perfect.
what? I'm going to go down that path, do some hot yoga, some Pilates, and then we'll be in contact, and I'll speak to you as well in future about your book. And also when I get my gene testing back, so we can actually talk about that and go down a bit of a self-discovery. But anyways, Joanne, it was fantastic. Thank you very much for coming out to Penrith, to sunny Penrith today for the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Thank you for having me.
No worries, anytime.
All right,
thank you. All right, bye everybody.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.